Hey, what's going on YouTube? Now, if you are really interested in the Swedish LK35, you might want to watch this. Otherwise, this is just a very niche subject here. So obviously I like vintage surplus things. These are made in Sweden. And could one of these be an LK35, the mythical LK50, LK50? Right, so technically these are both LK35s. I've heard of reference to the LK50, and I've not seen any proof of that from the Swedish Army or government, but I've seen it on YouTube. So let me show you a couple of little differences between these two items, which were made. This was made in 1990. This was made in 1988. I'm not sure if this was the first year where they started doing the Cordura-like nylon, the synthetic. When these things first came out, they were made out of canvas for all this fabric on there. And they were definitely a little bit smaller than the ones that they made later with that Cordura-like nylon. So when I say Cordura-like, they never patented or, I don't know, whatever, paid Cordura for that trade name. But it's basically just a nylon that is, instead of being smooth like ballistic nylon, it is, I don't know, what would you call that? Anyway, when I look at it, it looks kind of fuzzy, right? Well, that helps with abrasion. So it's slightly more difficult to cut this up with a knife or something sharp versus ballistic nylon. Ballistic nylon has tensile strength over this, but it's very smooth, so like if something cuts it, it'll cut slightly easier. All right, let's go to the meat of what this is. So let's do some measurements on the frame. So all I'm doing is going right across here. So this frame is only at 12 1/4 inches wide. So let's go to the one over here. So this is 1 5/8 inches wide on this frame. So the stamp on this is from Haglöfs, made in Sweden. This one is 8888, and I'm not sure if that was made in Sweden or not. Subsequently, after these, I know that in Austria they were making these and they were stamping them with the 3 crowns. So this may have been made in Sweden, but you can see here there's a slight difference on these frames. So that's not a game changer, right? But you can see that there are some differences there. Let's take another look at what else is going on here. So look at these straps. So let's measure these straps. So this strap is measuring 2.5 inches wide on this strap. On this one it is 2 5/8. So there's only an 1/8 of an inch difference. This is, on this part, is still made from that Cordura-like nylon, it appears. And let's take a look at the fabric here. So on the fabric down here for the strapping, to me looks more like that Cordura-like nylon, where it attaches the strap to the thing. On this one appears to me more like more like a canvas or a cotton type of thing. I mean, it is fuzzy. Just the look of it is not shiny. To me, I'm thinking that this is made out of canvas, but that's my opinion, and that's really about it. But it does look different. So that's what else is different on here. So if I measure the thickness of this, it looks like this thing is 1/4 of an inch thick on this one versus 1/8 of an inch thickness on this. So I can physically feel the thickness on this. So this is slightly thicker than just about every other one that I've run into. You know, I've handled about, let's say 20, 25 of these things. Now sometimes I resell these on eBay, and I make a very modest profit because you got to remember that eBay and PayPal end up taking about 14 to 15% of any, you know, whatever I sell it for. They're taking 14-15% after everything that I've sold, and there's not much margin on most of these, honestly. I mean, you know, I'm probably making $10 to, you know, if I'm selling it at $100, or if I sell it for $130, then I'm obviously going to be making about $35-40. So it's not worth too much to me. The only reason that I resell these sometimes is it gives, you know, I put stuff on eBay, so I've got a bigger presence on there, and I can offer related items or somewhat related items. I mean, I pretty much sell vintage surplus gear, and lately it's been mainly Swedish. You know, I don't want to just be like, oh, I'm just selling an axe head, or I'm selling whatever. So I try to diversify a little bit and do some stuff. And every once in a while I'll make a little bit of money off of selling these. So, honestly, you know, 75% of the time it's the minimum bid that I get, and I make a very minimum profit on it. Now, you know, for the buyer, they're still getting this faster than if they buy it from somewhere else. So you can find these things from the UK, you can find them from someplace in Europe. If I'm selling it, you can guarantee that this thing's going to be in 2 to 3 days if you select, you know, priority mail. But that's the benefit to buying it from me. And yes, it'll be more, possibly cost more, but you're not waiting, and you can be assured this can be there somewhat fast. Okay, so there's enough on that, right? Pretty freaking boring. So let's take a look though. So I did do some measurements on the bags. So if I do this bottom measurement, this is 6 inches. It is also 6 inches depth here on the bottom. So let's measure side to side. So I go seam to seam. This is 13.5 inches wide. And here we're going exactly the same, 13.5 on the bottom. Okay. And so I was measuring these seams up on the top, but it doesn't matter that much on the thing. So this is 3.25 inches depth on this measurement. Very dry shit, so I mean, if you've hung around this long, I don't know, I'm sorry for you. This is what, 9 3/4, maybe 10 inches. Yeah, if I go all the way across, this 10 inches. So this is actually wider on the lid, but if you open up the inside, actually where the the bag is. This thing is only 8 inches wide right here. Okay. And this one is 8.5 inches depth if I go from the seam to right here on the back of it. Let's do the last measurement. It's pretty boring. 13 5/8 wide by 14 inches wide. So I'm going to say that this thing actually has slightly more volume just based on the dimensions down here, over here, width, blah blah blah. So is there an LK50? Probably not. It's what I've noticed though is there's multiple manufacturers for these, and there's slight variances to where these measurements will give it a little bit more volume if that's all we're looking at is just based on those measurements. You can see that you know, possibly some different manufacturers give you more volume in there versus others, and there's not that big much of a difference anyway. If you guys have any questions or comments, thanks for watching this boring stuff, but I don't know, I mean, as far as quality, these all look pretty quality. So I kind of like the finish on this Haglöfs versus this one, very slightly. I mean, you know, there's not too much difference between these things. As far as the materials, they look almost identical. I guess what's kind of cool here is you got some rivets on here, you know, like these button type of rivets. It's like there's a little more strength on there besides just being sewn on. Other than that, there's not any really major things that I can see at this time. You guys have a good one.